Dr. Maria D. Michael, followed by Mark Grossman.
I want to address you, Mr. Mayor, Ms. Vice Mayor, and all the council members here, and all my relatives that stand behind me. I am a Lakota Diné elder, Navajo elder, and I have been welcomed by your town when we did the direct actions. Mr. Wallbach was with us and shook our hand, and we come to humbly and heartfully ask you to be a leader as a city. We have all kinds of leaders in this country now. We're asking you to show up and stand up and be a leader, to take the money away from the oil, from all the banks that are going to hurt our grandmother Earth. We only have one Earth. I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother. I have 18-year-olds and I have a 1-year-old granddaughter. I have 7 grandchildren. I want them to have a planet to live on. I want them to drink water, sacred water, this kind of water. I want them to be able to swim. I want them to be able to eat healthy food. We ask you, you have the power to be a leader like Davis. You have the power to set an example, to help this world understand that Grandmother Earth is more important than power and money and greed. Look into your hearts. We ask you to look into your hearts. What do you want for your families, for your relatives? What did your ancestors want for you, each one of you? I know what our ancestors wanted. They still want the same things. We ask you, please, to look into your hearts. Please divest. Please tell these banks that they cannot keep doing business as usual. The laws in this country allow the oil pipelines to leak hundreds of thousands of gallons at each fitting before they even have to be announced. Please look into your hearts and divest. Aho mitakiase.
Thank you. Mark Grossman, followed by Ruth Robertson.
Hello, Council and Mayor. Thank you. My divestment fellows may quietly but wildly wave their hands if they choose to. I live at 2063 Byron. I'm also standing here as a representative of 350 Silicon Valley, your friendly local grassroots climate change organization. I'm so happy that everyone in Palo Alto, including the council for the most part, takes sustainability seriously, but there is a disconnect. According to the second quarter investment activity report, the city of Palo Alto holds millions of dollars with banks like US Bank, JP Morgan Chase, and Wells Fargo that are major funders of the Dakota Access Pipeline and other fossil fuel projects. Now, these banks may claim to adhere to the Equator Principles and to care about human rights and so forth, but the Dakota Access Pipeline and other fossil fuel projects do fundamental harm to indigenous communities and to the environment. We have 100% green energy here, but it doesn't make any sense to fund non-clean projects elsewhere in the country. That's just moving the problem around. So Wells Fargo says, I wrote to them, but Wells Fargo says they're unable or unwilling to withhold funds that are committed to these projects. So we urge you to follow other cities like San Francisco, Los Angeles, Seattle, Davis, and move our money to cleaner pastures. Thank you.
Thank you. Ruth Robertson, to be followed by Rita.
I'm Ruth Robertson. I've been a resident of Palo Alto for 25 years. We know you won't forget our message because we're going to sing it in song.
And just in case anybody didn't know, DAPL refers to Dakota Access Pipeline. That's in our song.
And by the way, we're the Raging Grannies. Save our planet, save our planet, divest now, divest now. Don't invest in DAPL, don't invest in DAPL, divest now, divest now. We need some time.
That was wonderful, thank you.
There's a lot wrong with the world, or there wouldn't be so many people here tonight. And there's frankly some things wrong with our federal administration that we're asking you to fill in the gap for. We need a lot of things, but it's hard to figure out the answers. A lot of the answers rest in divestment because so many things are interlinked with greed, corruption, and that is a true solution, and it is linked to a lot of other solutions. Things like zero-point energy, free energy for everyone. I don't understand why we're so invested in oil. It doesn't make sense. So we're asking you to be ahead of the curve, not behind. Thank you.
Thank you. Curtis Wu, to be followed by Cheryl McGovern.
Hello, Council. When I learned what happened at Standing Rock, it sickened me to my core. And to see how we continue to violate indigenous rights, how we continue to extract oil out of the ground when we don't need it, and how we continue to value profit over greed. This is so much bigger than one pipeline. It symbolizes so many things that's wrong with this country. Divesting from DAPL, I think, really lays out a blueprint for the country and how to fight climate change. In a capitalistic society, unfortunately, our government and corporations don't really view us much as people and citizens as much as they do consumers. So this is speaking their language. So what we have going on is basically a really crappy product that we don't need, that we're drilling out of the ground, that causes death and destruction in the form of wars, pollution, and all it does is benefit a few CEOs and oil executive companies. So I think what we're asking is, I think we're just in a pivotal moment in human history, and I'm just asking, will you guys stand on the sidelines and let these oil companies take advantage of us, or will you divest and fire a warning shot to these companies and tell them that when you sell out indigenous rights and threaten our planet, we will hit you where it hurts the most, your bottom line. And my last comment is, given our history with this indigenous people, trying to do this is literally the least we can do. So I hope that you try. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheryl McGovern, to be followed by Tara Sood.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me speak. I thought I was going to speak under 11 and 12, under sustainability plan. I thought I was going to speak under sustainability, and I can come back to that, but I personally am divesting from, I have a portfolio as a retiree, and I'm looking at preferred stocks that can yield, 5% interest or dividends, as an alternative to oil companies and to funding these pipelines. There's 3 million jobs, as you probably have heard, with clean energy, and that's the way of the future. So I hope that you guys do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheryl McGovern, to be followed by, Tara Sood, to be followed by Melanie Liu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Ms. Vice Mayor, and council members for this repeat opportunity to speak to you. My name is Tara Sood. I am an emergency physician. I'm also here representing the National Group Physicians for Social Responsibility. I was at Standing Rock in December 2016. I can assure you the atrocities that you saw on TV and on social media were just tip of the iceberg. During most of my stay there, I was the only physician in camp. This allowed me to witness all the health consequences of the inhumane treatment of the water protectors. I cared for the lady who lost her eye to a rubber bullet, a man who suffered from hypothermia because he was stripped down to his underwear in negative 30-degree weather, elderly grandmothers who had trouble breathing because of chemical pneumonitis, likely from tear gas and pepper spray exposure, and multiple people with broken bones. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know what the legal definition of human rights violation is, but I do know what occurred at Standing Rock was wrong. And by continuing to fund the oil companies that employ these inhumane tactics, we are part of the problem. We cannot sit here and pretend our money did not fund these atrocities. We let the people of Standing Rock down, but we can still stop funding oil companies to stop what occurred there, and so it will never happen again. Thank you.
Thank you. Melanie Liu to be followed by Sophia Catalano.
On October 10th, 2014, almost exactly 3 years ago today, Archbishop Desmond Tutu called for an apartheid-style boycott to save the planet. He said, "We must stop climate change, and we can if we use the tactics that worked in South Africa." The divestment movement played a key role in helping to liberate South Africa. The corporations understood the logic of money, even when they weren't swayed by the dictates of morality. In November of last year, federal judge from Oregon, Judge Aiken, ruled that if the government was knowingly destroying the Earth's climate, it was in violation of the public trust doctrine, which requires governments to act as trustees for natural resources. Since September of last year, residents have had boots on the ground, so to speak. We have had 5 rallies and marches to defund DAPL, and we know that there is broad support and deep support for this action. Please work this into the Sustainability and Climate Action Plan, the SCAP, and we'll be back to make that point when you discuss it again later. Thank you.
Thank you. Sophia Catalano to be followed by Stephanie Munoz.
Hi, how are you guys doing today? I'm so happy to see all these wonderful people. I stand before you as the future generation as well. One day I will bear life. And when I look into the future for the life that I will bear, it becomes bleak and frightening because I see a future plagued by war and our food saturated with toxins. So with this, I read this statement on behalf of the future. We, the undersigned, urge Palo Alto City Council to direct city staff to expeditiously divest the city's financial portfolio of all entities providing financing to the Dakota Access Pipeline and Energy Transfer Partners, as well as any other infrastructure construction designed to extract or consume fossil fuels. Furthermore, we urge the city of Palo Alto to conduct its business with financial institutions that has the values aligned with ours and lending practices that support rather than harm our communities and our shared climate. It is sad that we live in a day and age to where I have to fight for my children's future, that I have to fight for clean air, clean water, and clean soil. All that I ask as the future is for you to please be our champion. Please rise with us and to defend us. I ask you as an equal, more like beg, because the future I look into, I'm scared. I'm very scared. And I ask you to use your power to help us. Whether or not we agree with what I'm saying, let us walk into the future with bravery, and let us not sell out our heart in the pursuits of a cold dollar that cannot feel. Do we agree? Yes. We agree. Please join us. Thank you.